The podcast you are about to hear is part of the Polish-Scottish Heritage Project as one of its many productions which aim to promote a greater awareness of Poland and Scotland's shared heritage. We hope that it encourages you personally to look into the stories of the places, events and people that shape the history we are privileged to share.
Before the war, Kazimierz Durkacz lived in Poland in Busowisko, near Sambor, south of Lvów. His father was head of a railway station. He was on his third year of medical school in Lvów when Hitler attacked Poland in 1939. Like many Polish people, his young life was brutally interrupted. He joined the Polish Armed Forces, Polska Obrona Narodowa. When the Russian army crossed the Nida River, his division retreated towards the Hungarian border. Now Poland do not have a border with Hungary, but it used to have. He was taken prisoner and transferred to a Hungarian war prison camp. When asked about the treatment in the camp, he replied, "Well, we were treated well. There were some problems, some fights. They even killed one rebellious Polish prisoner, but in general it was not too bad." I was on my third year of medicine before the war started, and because there was no doctor in the camp, they made me the head doctor. Nevertheless, the food was good, no major difficulties except lice. We were covered in lice. There was no way to wash or bath, nothing. I should say that the Hungarians tried to help. They brought an old-fashioned cart with a big water barrel. The fire burned under it, and we poured the water into the pool, and we washed there. There was no German control over the prison camp, and there was no strict guarding, therefore we managed to escape. Escaping in small groups, they crossed the border with Yugoslavia, and with a lot of help from the Polish consul in Yugoslavia, they traveled by train through the north of Yugoslavia to get to France and join the Polish armed forces there. They reached the south of France in winter 1940. The French loaded us onto trains in Modena and transported us to the camps, and from there to various places where the Polish army was training.
Królewski Dam, tam był obóz wojskowy francuski. Myśmy spali pokrotem na szlomie. Francji pamiętam najlepiej tego.
We were sleeping on the floor on straw. I remember France. The most I saw that the French were completely unprepared. Even though we were officially a part of the Polish army, we were given French uniforms from before the First World War. Greyish and difficult to wear.
Ubrania bardzo twarde, ciężkie do ubierania, ale skarpetek nie było, tylko były te powijacze.
We did not have socks, only gaiters on use, which you were meant to wrap around your feet. We did not know how to use them, had no experience, as the French did. Therefore, during the march, when we were training, the gaiters would often become untied. It was a funny sight. The military unit is marching along the road, and suddenly one man is falling, then another, and they are trying to fix their gaiters. We are also given old rifles from 1895 called Lviv. It was a strong, very heavy, single-shot rifle. We did not like them at all.
W każdym razie te karabiny nam się zupełnie nie podobały. I później jak się zanosiło na to, że Hitler uderzy na Francję, to nas...
Then, when it looked like Hitler was going to attack France, we were transported quickly by trains to Paris. We were a part of Polish army under the command of General Maczek. We were given a section and commanded to defend it. We were given the northeast section. We were well trained, well prepared, and as we had a few months of preparation.
ale nagle niesądnie zawód.
Suddenly, Hitler charged again, and just when he was about to march on Paris, we were suddenly given new uniforms and weapons. Amazing weapons.
Mundury, świetną broń, cudowną broń. Ja byłem w 24 pułku. Mieliśmy specjalne odznaki.
I was in the 24th Division. We had special badges, some black shoulder pads. The Polish officers in the division and in Poland had long black coats and black leather uniforms. They looked especially elegant. In Paris, the food was bad, but the wine. In the winter, the first thing that the French brought in for us were barrels of wine, apple wine.
Jak Niemcy uderzyli porządnie wtedy, byli bombardowani przez samoloty, bo wtedy rzucali bomby na noc.
The German attacked stronger with a heavy bombing on the outskirts of Paris. We had brand new guns, motorcycles and brand new American vans.
Amerykański i auta ciężarowe. Myśmy dali stary rozkaz, uciekać, wycofać się. Myśmy nie mogli walczyć, jak są Francuzi przybyli tu, żeby...
We were told to retreat. We could not fight, as the French soldiers that had come before us just dropped their weapons and went home. The French that we met on the roads, those walking on foot, had bottles, the large ones, almost 1 gallon, hanging on their necks, full of wine.
Wielka puszka zawieszona na szyi. Każdy jeden miał olbrzymi, ale to wielka jak bęben wielki taki. To tu prawie galon wina czy pust na południu Francji, gdzie na nas już czekały, bo to...
In the south of France, the cargo boats were waiting for us. They loaded us onto them.
I tam i nas pakowali na te Chicago. Myśmy po 3 dniach i nocach przyjechali do Liverpoolu i przyjęli nas.
After 3 days and nights at the sea, we arrived in Liverpool. We were received well there. We were so dirty, we looked like chimney sweepers. They transported us in trains to Glasgow. We looked very impressive, very elegant. We had great patterned helmets with a feather in French style and ankle-length capes.
Piórków, hełmy taki francuski. Jakieśmy marszowali z pociągu z dworca kolejowego gdzieś.
When we marched from the train station near Glasgow to Glasgow, people stopped and greeted us enthusiastically.
I witali nas na tym. Dodatkowo pierwsza rzecz, że nas gdzie nas...
In Glasgow, they didn't know how to accommodate us, as there were so many people. So they took us to a sports stadium.
Siedzieli na tych siatkach, spali. Jakieś 2 tygodnie musieliśmy spać pod gołym niebem albo pod...
For 2 weeks, we were sleeping on the benches, under an open sky or the stadium roof. It was temporary, of course, as they didn't know where to put us. After that, they transported us to the camps in Lanark. There, they gave us a weapon and motorcycles.
Dali nam motocykle. Dlatego motocykle. Inni zawód Hitler zaczął grozić, że...
Suddenly, Hitler started to threaten that there would be an invasion. We were transported to the north from Dundee, Arbroath, and other places there.
Te miejscowości. I myśmy mieli tę granicę, tą część pilnować.
We were commanded to defend this area, this part. Winter was coming. It was so dark at night, and the lookout towers were high in the trees, difficult to climb. And from there, we were supposed to spy on the Germans.
Nie jadą, ale w tym czasie akurat tak się zdarzyło, że w Edynburgu.
At the same time, some of my friends from medicine in Poland were in Edinburgh. They came over some other way. They asked me to get there immediately without telling me why.
Takim tego przyjrzałem, bo nie powiedzieli mi dlaczego. Przyjrzałem do worka na dworze.
When I arrived at Edinburgh station, they were already waiting for me in their Polish uniforms. I asked them, "What is it? What's wrong?" And they told me, "You are going to university to study medicine." It was the winter of 1941. The lecturers and professors were arriving and there were a lot of doctors, Polish doctors, that came to Scotland with the army. They didn't know what to do with them. Someone came up with an idea. Why not to give people like me, who studied medicine in Poland, a chance to continue their education? There were a few months of negotiations with the Polish government in exile in London, as the government needed to approve the establishment of the Polish Medical Department in Edinburgh. Edinburgh agreed rather fast. Antoni Jurosz from Poznań was the dean of Polish school. Because there were not enough of the Polish lecturers, part of the lectures were run by the Scottish Medical Department in English.
Część wykładów była, część uczenia, ćwiczeń i tak dalej była w Szkocji. Trudności były z początku dość duże, bo
there were a lot of difficulties at the beginning as most of the students didn't speak any English. I learned very quickly because I had been learning languages in Poland. I had German in school and English I studied on my own.
Miałem trudności, zwłaszcza starsi studenci, byli tacy, którzy już byli prawie na ukończeniu.
Older students especially had difficulties, the ones who were almost at the end of their studies in Poland and had to finish them here.
To im było bardzo trudno. Docent Tomaszewski z Poznania, który znał angielski.
Dr. Tomaszewski from Poznań, who spoke English, helped them to communicate with the professors during their exams.
Jak przyjechałem tu,
when I arrived, I had completed 3 years of medical studies in Poland, so I only had to pass a few subjects. I left my index at university in Lvów. After the war, my mother brought it to me.
Nie miałem czasu zabrać. Po wojnie matka dostała to i przywiozła mnie tu. Okazało się, że w końcu medycyna polska trwała 9.
The Polish School of Medicine in Edinburgh was open for 8 years from the 1941 until 1949, according to the contract between Polish and Scottish government.
Była tylko umowa z rządem polskim, że tak w dokumencie i wszyscy profesorowie i wykładowcy byli bardzo.
All of the lecturers and professors were very accommodating, very helpful. It was the only such case at that time in the world where students of one country has been enrolled in the university of another country. When I finished university, I started practical training with a Polish professor of dentistry from Poznań. I also did an additional PhD in dentistry in Edinburgh. The Polish School of Medicine was open from 1941 until 1949, and during the last 4 years I also lectured in dentistry at the school. After my professor had left in 1945 for Poznań, I received the title of a senior lecturer of dentistry. Then, after the school was closed, I worked as a dentist on my own.
This project would not have been possible without the support of our sponsors, including the Consulate General of the Republic of Poland in Edinburgh, and the enthusiasm and hard work of our project volunteers, for which we are extremely grateful.